If pregnant me from 3 months ago could see today, mom me, here 3 months later, sitting here recording a childbirth video, I wouldn't even believe my own self. There's something about childbirth videos when I was pregnant that I just could not get into for the life of me. They weren't interesting, they weren't relatable, I just didn't get it. And that's the disconnect that I totally understand now, and I wish if I could go back 3 months ago and tell myself, just find a few childbirth videos that you like, people that you have common interests with, watch them, because later down the line, you'll be so interested to compare and contrast those stories with your own story. So if that's you and you're just a little bit skeptical about childbirth videos, trust me, I get it, I've been there. But I would just really encourage you to watch this video, and whenever life calms down for you, when baby comes home, save this video and watch it again later so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about and compare my story with your own. Did we have a lot of similar experiences? Were we just completely opposites? I want to hear all about it. So with that being said,
I'm Jonas.
I'm Shayna. This is our 3-month-old Shaylin. We create lifestyle content for families with pets. All right, so let's go back a little bit. So Shaylin's 3 months old. Let's kind of go back to 3 months and like 2 weeks ago. Where were you at? Where was your head at?
3 months, 2 weeks ago, where was my head? My head was August 28th is tomorrow. I literally witnessed you wobbling up the stairs, having a difficult time, just doing normal day-to-day things that you enjoy doing while pregnant, to one morning going to use the restroom and you telling me, oh babe, I think my water's breaking.
Right.
Next thing you know, surrounded by 9 or 10 doctors and nurses and you pushing this beautiful little baby out.
During that time, you kept saying that I was walking different, I was waddling or whatever. And I probably was. I just remember, a week or two before giving birth, I just remember feeling very heavy. But I also remember telling myself, I guess this is normal. I've never experienced this before, but I guess you just start to feel heavier, you're getting close. And then another thing is that I really wanted to keep my word with everything that we were doing because, you have kids from a previous marriage and they were here during the summer. And so we had a lot of activities for them, and I wanted to keep my word and make sure that we did our summer, fun things with the girls. And so I had a lot of things on my agenda that week before giving birth. I think we had bracelet making, we were gonna go to the park, and we were gonna do all kinds of stuff for the week. And I just kept being all right, let's go downstairs and tell the girls sorry. But just kept being I cannot do it. So one night, we canceled the plan, and we instead were okay, we could at least ride around in the car, ride around downtown, and just have ice cream, ride around downtown. They like that kind of stuff. So that's what we did. Well, after that, we were hungry, so I know me and the girls went to Raising Cane's. Right. You wanted Chipotle,
yeah.
And that's what we did. We came home, and this is important because this is when it should have clicked for me that I was about to go into labor, but it didn't click. It didn't click. I was eating my Raising Cane's. I might have taken 3 bites, maybe eating 1 chicken finger, a bite of my toast, and then I was all right, well, I'm about to just go upstairs and go to sleep. I didn't finish my food, and I always Raising Cane's. I'm gonna always finish my Raising Cane's, So I should have known something was up, but I just went upstairs and went to sleep. And that was 10 p.m.
Yeah.
10:30 or whatever. And then the next thing I know, it might have been 1 o'clock in the morning. I just woke up per normal. The later you get in pregnancy, you do have to pee a lot. So I was okay, let me just go pee. Well, my water had broken. I think that the reason that I wasn't realizing that I was about to go in labor is because the baby came 3 weeks early. So this is August 3rd, first in the morning on August 3rd. Shaylin wasn't due until August 28th. Yeah. So I'm experiencing all of this as a first-time mother. I was reading about it. I kind of knew certain things, but I don't know. It just wasn't clicking to me. Well, anyway, we went ahead and went to the hospital because I was all right, well, after I got done peeing, I was still leaking. So we just wanted to make sure everything was okay. We went to the emergency room. The nurses were yeah, actually, sounds like you are in labor. They gave me that test just to make sure that my water had broken, and they confirmed that my water had broken. So 2 in the morning, we get to the hospital. the girls are here, right? Like
right, they're here.
Yeah. So I think when we, like, once we knew that we were in labor, we were like, all right, so I'm gonna obviously stay at the hospital. You're gonna go home and get them. So we got admitted into the labor and delivery emergency room. We stayed in that room for like, what, an hour and a half?
Yeah, maybe 2 hours tops.
Yeah, and then they transferred me, like they wheeled me up to labor and delivery. This surreal feeling just could not escape me. Like, it still, even though I knew I was going into labor, even though I knew I was, you know, my water had broken, it still didn't feel real. Like it hadn't registered in my brain that I was about to give birth, like within a few hours. So I'm just laughing, having a good time. I thank God that our nurse was so chill. She had us in there laughing. She was so funny. Remember I had to do an enema?
Yeah.
And, I didn't know what an enema was. And so like our OB prepared us. She was like, you'll have to do an enema like before you give birth. And I was like, cool, whatever. Like, I don't know. Like in my head, I was just like, whatever. I've never researched what an enema was, y'all, for real. Well, I'm doing the enema, and the nurse, when she finds out that I didn't know what an enema was, like she could not stop laughing. So anyway, just the vibe in there was just like chill, fun, relaxed, you know, everything was good. Up until you left. You had to leave, you had to go get the girls. Yeah. And this is another thing too about hospitals. I don't know if it's a Texas thing or what, but thankfully, you know, with the baby coming early unexpectedly, it was one of the weeks during the summer that we had the girls, and you know, we weren't expecting them to be there when we gave birth, but fortunately they were able to be in the labor and delivery room while I delivered the baby. And I found out that like that's not always the case. Some hospitals don't actually allow you to have more than like, you know, 1 or 2 people. So they were like, whoever you want to be in here, and if you feel comfortable with them watching you give birth, then let them in. So how did that go when you were leaving me in the hospital in labor, going to get the girls, coming home to feed Luke, you know, get all the toiletries? What was that like?
Well, obviously I was nervous. You know, you were going into labor, they were inducing you or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, being your husband, I didn't want to leave you alone. I'm like, oh my God, you know, we're at the hospital, doctors are coming in the office, so much is going on. I'm trying to stay strong for you. You know, they had given you a dosage of whatever medicine, Pitocin.
And that, like, Pitocin is what induces your labor, opens up my cervix.
And you were feeling good. And so I'm thinking, okay, Jonas, go get the girls, hurry back, don't get a speeding ticket, oh my God. I'm just thinking of all those things.
I remember saying that. I was like, drive safe.
You did.
Like, do not mess around and get a speeding ticket and like something happened. Drive safe, get home and get back.
And so as I'm driving, I'm like, okay, you got to get the girls up. And the girls are very hard to wake up in the mornings. So I got here to get them up. I'm like, hey, wake up. Shana's having the baby. And they're looking at me like, what?
Yeah.
Why are you waking us up? What are you talking about? I'm like, they're having a baby. She's having a baby. And they're like, really? Okay, you know, with sleep in their eyes, it's still slow dragging. Yeah. And you know, I know you like everything done with a sense of urgency. Plus you're going into labor. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm trying to get hysterical. So I get them together, I get in the car, I get back to the hospital. And then you're like, baby, you know, you were so happy to see me because
I was like actively in labor. I was having contractions.
You were having contractions, and so it was very comforting for you. So
yeah.
Once we got to the room, the girls sat down, and you know, I got back into protector mode. You know. So
when you left, we were under the impression, like, I don't know, like, well, first of all, we knew like no matter what, you had to go home and get the girls. Like, we were not going to leave the kids like alone. You know what I mean? So we knew that you had to do that. I was under the impression that the Pitocin was not going to work as fast as it did, but like, it's like as soon as he left, I started having like these contractions, like just really painful contractions, and you know, it was working. Medicine was working. I remember the nurse came in there, the fun nurse that we loved, I forget her name, but her shift ended, so she had to go. And then another nurse came in who, I think he sensed that like we weren't really, I don't know, I can't say for sure, but I feel like he could sense that we weren't really like vibing, and that I was kind of bummed that the first nurse left, because I only saw him one time, and then another nurse came in and she was like, oh, I'm gonna be your new nurse now. And I was like, great. Well, anyway, the guy nurse came in and he was like, oh, do you want to get the epidural? And I was like, yeah. And then he went to, I don't know if I told you this, he went to go leave the room, and I was like, oh, but what does that involve? Like, I know about, the only thing I knew about epidurals is that they hurt, like people say they hurt, and it's a big old needle in your spine.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, like, did you need me to give you the full rundown? And I was like, I do. And so he gave me the full rundown, and I was like, all right. And so I still though didn't ask him like, when can I have my epidural? I wish I would have asked for it then. Editing Shayna from the future here. I just want to clarify, I did ask the nurse when I should get my epidural. It's just that the answer kind of like wasn't enough for me in that moment, to be honest. Now remember, I was transitioning to this very hands-off nurse from the nurse that was very hands-on, very high energy, would talk with me through anything I wanted to. And so that really wasn't helping. So what did I do? I got on Google. Now, if you get on Google and you type in when to ask for an epidural during labor, the answers are all over the place. It pretty much scared me because I was like seeing that you don't want to ask for the epidural too soon. Otherwise, this can happen. And it's just like, at the end of it, I was frustrated because why am I in a whole ass hospital Googling stuff when there's competent medical staff here who can answer my questions, but just in my opinion in that moment weren't. So I was really suffering from decision fatigue. This was a huge decision that I needed to make. My husband wasn't there. The nurse wasn't really wanting to chat with me about it, and I just didn't like it. Because I was in pain while you were gone. I was having contractions. I was just in shock, and I felt like, it's no fault of yours, but I felt alone. Like, I was just like, dang, I'm sitting here in the hospital by myself having contractions. Like, it didn't feel fair. So now I will say, for a short period of time, I was excited, and I got on Instagram, and I told like my Instagram close friends, like I gave like a little video of the room, and I was like, I'm in labor, y'all. So I was well enough to get on Instagram, but I was in pain. Anyway, yes, was so happy to see you once you got back to the room. By that time, like, what time was it? We got to the hospital like what, 2 a.m.?
2 a.m. I got back, I would say 4:30.
Yeah.
4:30.
So everything's going just normal. I remember like stopping because I was like, they had to do this whole like, protocol before they could give me the epidural. So the girls could see that I was in pain, and I remember like stopping and apologizing to them because, we don't cuss in front of the kids. But I do have like a potty mouth for like when I'm not in front of the kids. And I was like, girls, you're gonna probably hear me cursing and, screaming and stuff. I was like, just don't mind me. I'm just really in pain right now. I was like, but I'm gonna be okay. Like, I didn't want them to be scared, like, what is going on with Shayna? So I was like, I'm okay. I'm just, I'm in a lot of pain right now, but the doctors are gonna be in to help me and, reduce the pain. So I remember giving that disclaimer. Then they came in with the doctor came in with this shot to give the epidural. Y'all had to leave the room. Yeah. So the epidural, like, you can't have anybody else in the room except for medical staff. So they had to leave. And to be very honest with you, like, it's not as bad as I was expecting. Like, obviously, like, it was a needle, and as like needles go, it was painful, but the reward was me not feeling my contractions, and the reward was me not being in like any pain, and almost like being kind of, I couldn't even feel my legs. Like, forget contractions, I couldn't feel my legs. Like, it literally felt like blubber. If I even needed to move slightly, I had to have you help me. So once I got that epidural, I was good to go. But what else after me getting an epidural?
After you got an epidural, I would say the other thing was calming down. You wanted to take a nap at the same time, knowing that you couldn't feel your bottom half.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You were, I think you started to overthink a little bit. And so
right, because I was like, am I supposed to not be able to feel my legs? And they were like, oh yeah, like, you're not supposed to feel, you're not gonna feel anything. And
so I remember, me comforting you and holding your hand, just letting you know that everything was going to be okay.
Yeah. So then after I got the epidural, I was like chill. Now, was it the Pitocin that made me kind of loopy and kind of like high?
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah, it wasn't the Pitocin. Pitocin induces labor. Some other medicine they gave me because they couldn't give me the epidural right away because they had to call Dr. Higgy, mm-hmm. and she had to confirm that it was okay. So they were like, in the meantime, we can give you this other pill and, that will help with the pain. Well, it didn't help with the pain, but it made me very loopy and silly and just goofy. That was funny. That was funny. That was when I was doing the enema.
I remember you had to go to the restroom, and before you went to the restroom, you were like, "Babe, you calm down. You're acting real high strung right now." I'm like, "No, I'm just here to comfort you." And you're like, "No, you are. See what I'm saying? You don't even know it. Take me to the restroom." We went to the restroom. You're like, "You see what I'm saying? Are you okay? You sure? Come here, give me a kiss. You don't want to give me a kiss right now, do you? Okay, give me a kiss." I was like, it was so funny. It was so funny.
Yeah, I don't know what was wrong with me.
Oh man.
And then, okay, so the process of getting the enema, I just want to explain why our doctor did that, because it's not a normal like procedure to do when you're going into labor. And I remember like one of the nurses was like, "Why does she need to do an enema?" And they were like, her doctor is all her clients, like all her patients, you know, do enemas or whatever. So my doctor said basically that like after you give birth, it wasn't so much she gave me an enema for the birth, but it was for after, because she knew that I would be constipated.
Right.
So I mean, it wasn't that bad. It was kind of awkward because, you know, first I didn't know what an enema was, and second, like, it was just like, you know, I'm the star of the show, so everybody knows I'm doing an enema, so I'm like, dang, like, you know. And then at one point the nurse like kind of yelled out at somebody, like she needed a tool, and then she kind of yelled it out. So I don't know, it was a little bit embarrassing, but I don't like have a problem with it. I think I understand what she was saying, because after I gave birth, I was constipated. Like it was a struggle, like pooping. So she was like, you know, I tell my patients to take enemas so that they don't have as much backed up when they have to go afterwards. So that's why she did it. Moving along, you know, they're coming in every so often. They're checking my cervix. I'm not fully dilated yet. And I'm like, you know what? I feel good. I feel like I'm calmed down. I'm gonna take a nap. You know, remember, we went to sleep the night before. I was not gonna finish my Raising Cane's. We went upstairs at like 10:30. I woke up at like 1 o'clock. So I had only gotten like 2.5 hours of sleep. So I needed sleep. Like I'm a person who needs my sleep. You know what I mean? So I was like, this is perfect. Like, I'm not fully dilated yet. My doctor's not here yet. I'm just gonna take a nap. As soon as I closed my eyes, that nurse came in there and was like, all right, I'm gonna check your cervix. I was fully dilated. She was like, all right, it's time to start pushing. So, I mean, I'll get like to that later, but I was pretty upset that I couldn't take a nap. I was just like, I must be so cranky. I already know. Like, I really, really knew that I just needed some sleep. So, with the news of me being fully dilated, 10 centimeters dilated, it again just kind of became a surreal moment to me. I don't know what to expect. I don't know, you know, what's gonna happen. Obviously, I'm, you know, praying and things like that, but it's just like, I don't know what I don't know. Like, here we go. It felt like time kind of stood still for me in that moment of like, you know, you were standing there being as supportive as you could. You were very supportive during that time. But the doctors and everybody, like, they were just like, it was business as usual. They're like, all right, let's get this baby out of this lady so we can get her out of this room, you know? So it was just very hustle and bustle. Like it just turned into this big, huge production. And you know, obviously that's what happens when you're delivering a baby. But like for me to see it, they were just like, light here, tools here, where's so-and-so, where's so-and-so, oh, get over here, like a movie set or something. It just turned into like, let's do business. And so while that was going on, I was just like, all right, mentally, let me get to where they're at, because right now I'm just like scared, you know what I mean? So I kind of just had to get all those jitters out. And then like all of it kind of calmed down, and it was just me, you, the girls, and the one labor and delivery nurse. I think her name is Ashley. She really, like, I didn't realize that it was just gonna be her helping me push for like 30 minutes. Like it was just her. And she was kind of like teaching me what to do. Then once I guess I pushed enough to where the baby was like, you know, close enough, that's when, you know, more doctors came in. Our doctor, Dr. Higgy, came in And that's when, you know, we started for real, like with pushing. When Dr. Higgy came in, I know we were like both relieved.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. She's great.
Yeah.
She is awesome. She's
she
very
came
good at what
in,
she does.
and you know, she was obviously like, well, I'd expect to see y'all so soon because it was 3 weeks, you know, 3 weeks early. So then let's see. So once everybody like is in place, she's teaching me, you know, they teach you what to do. I wasn't able to go to I think there is like a childbirth class at the hospital.
It is.
Yeah, I wasn't able to go to the childbirth class. I knew that there was a certain way to breathe. I knew that there was a certain way to push, but you know, she was teaching me. She was like, you know, your life depends on this. This is very important. So I was like, all right, so do that, do this. And, you know, it was just like, all right, once she kind of coached me and guided me, and once I saw my doctor, like, that's something that we don't talk about enough. Like, when you give birth, your OBGYN that you see weekly, you know, at a point once you're pregnant, you know, there's a possibility that your OBGYN may not deliver your baby. So I was just like, wow, she actually came, because not only did we give birth early, but they called her at like 3 a.m. And like, that is just some commitment. And I would just suggest to anyone, like, make sure you have that conversation with your OBGYN. Will you be the one giving, you know, delivering my baby? Will you be doing it? And obviously nobody can guarantee that, but something like kind of a close of a guarantee is what I was looking for in Dr. Higgy, because we had built this relationship with her that, like, you know, she knew me, she knew you, she was personally invested in like this baby. Not only was I seeing her, but she also referred me to a high-risk doctor. So we were seeing Dr. Higgy and a high-risk doctor. So she just wanted to make sure that we got Shaylin here safely. And she told us, like, I will be delivering your baby. She looked over her calendar. She looked at her vacation schedule and she was like, I'm not going to be taking a vacation in August. So like, you're good to go. Sure enough, like when she walked in, it was just like, wow. I realized like, wow, there was a possibility that she was busy, couldn't answer her phone, like whatever could have happened, but you know, she was there and she honored her word, and that just like meant the most to me. Yeah, so that was so special. So her being there, that calmed me down a ton. And then I started pushing. Now, what was your, like, what were you seeing when I was pushing? What was like kind of your POV of like the support system, the like cheerleader, and just like a bystander? Like, what were you thinking?
What I was thinking was, okay, she's in good hands. Obviously, we trust Dr. Higginbotham. She's so great at what she does. She does a very good job of assuring you that the pregnancy is going to go well. I mean, she's also, it was enlightening to see her. And then the staff, I knew we were still in good hands, because I'm like, okay, Dr. Higg is a professional. She's she doesn't play. So if they're on her team, everything's going to run smooth.
That's true.
And I felt comfortable being a protector. You know, I was like, all right, I can relax. You know, my baby's okay. Dr. Higgins got the best on the job. You know, she's one of the best. And just being a support system, I just wanted to make sure that
Dr. Higgy was like, when we see her at her office, she's so fun and like chill. Oh, but when she put when she put her work mask on, she got to work, she was like, you, give me that, you, this, you, there. Like, I was like, it was just a side of her I've never seen.
In such fine fashion, in such order. I mean, and it was like, you knew that they were supposed to know.
Yeah.
You could tell they worked with her before.
Oh my God.
And if you didn't know, she kind of just, you know, looked at you like.
She asked Ashley. She was like, there was, I forget what it was, but I think it had to do with my catheter, because they put the catheter in before birth. And then I think maybe after birth, so I'm kind of jumping ahead, but I believe it was like after I gave birth, Ashley went to go like, I think she wanted to leave my catheter in.
Editing Shayna back again. So I remember what happened. They took the catheter out before I started, you know, pushing, obviously. But then after I delivered, the nurse wanted to put the catheter back in. And Dr. Higgy was like, y'all need to stop doing that at this hospital. The only reason she would need a catheter put back in after giving birth is if she was actually having trouble urinating. But don't just put one back in assuming like, you know, she might have trouble urinating. Let that happen first and then put it back in if necessary. So she just kind of went on this rant about like how, you know, they don't need to do that at the hospital and don't put a catheter back in. And it was just an interesting, you know, moment to see that that interaction.
And Dr. Higgy was like, no, you need to take it out.
Right, and I was like, okay. And I also think she said, you don't know?
Yeah,
You're supposed to know. And I'm like, okay, when she said that, I'm like, she's such a freaking professional. But overall, in being a support system, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't freak out emotionally, because that was my first time actually witnessing a childbirth being given vaginally. So, I'm like, all right, Jonas, stay calm, make sure that, you're calm for Shayna. That was the highest level of love, in my opinion, because I'm like, here's a woman that I love, I'm in love with, and she's giving birth to our baby, someone else who I love. So it was really emotional for me, but at the same time, I was trying not to be too emotional, because I wanted to make sure I was sturdy for you.
Same. I was just thinking about how, I'm a crier. I'll cry at the drop of a dime, but like during the whole time that I was pushing and like just labor and delivery, I did not cry. I was like,
you didn't.
I need to get this baby out. This is serious. Like, this is not emotion. Like, remove all of that and just be serious and seriously push.
You only shed the tears at the end.
At the end,
when
when
saw
they gave the baby. Yeah.
And then that made me shed tears. Everybody's crying, man. So,
what time was that at? Because we got to the hospital.
You started pushing. It was 10.
Like 10.
10:45ish. Yeah.
So time is going on. So once I start pushing, here's where the epidural comes back into play. I'm so thankful for the epidural, and I will get one again, like when we have another baby, but my struggle was that they were just like, push, push, push. And I was just like, y'all, I am pushing. I'm pushing as hard as I can. So the thing about the epidural is that like, I couldn't feel a thing. And I think there was some kind of like something that happened, because they were like, wait, you can't feel anything? I'm like, no. They were like, okay, you're having a huge contraction right now. Can you feel that? And I was like, no. So I saw a side conversation happening about like the doctor who administered my epidural, and them saying that like, perhaps it's like, it seemed like it was like a heavy-handed situation going on. Like maybe she did too much, like I don't know, but they were just like, there was like some side comments. I'm trying my hardest to push, and like, trust me, I'm giving it my all, but like, it's just like, y'all are telling me it's not good enough. So how many sets of pushes? I feel like 10. Did I do like 10?
I would say, from a sets perspective, I'd say 10 to 12. 10 to 12 sets.
Yeah.
At least.
And I would say like of those 10 to 12, 6 of them were like, did not move the needle. Like, I don't think moved the needle. It didn't feel like it. They were just like, harder. Like every time I was pushing the hardest I could, they were like, yep, harder than that. Keep going. And then that's when I said like, I asked you, I said, if you could just hold my neck, because my neck was hurting so bad. And that's when I had the conversation, and I said, you guys, like, I'm really trying to push, but I can't feel a thing. Like, so I'm trying. And so that's when they were like, oh, okay. Well, I want to say like at maybe 5 or 6 sets of pushes, maybe she started to crown. Yeah. And they were just like, oh, this is perfect. Like, go ahead and keep going. And that really motivated me.
Yeah, I think it was around set 7, Dr. Higgy said, keep pushing, you're doing a great job. And we started to see the crown of her head.
Yeah.
That was exciting.
Another thing, I was watching someone else's birth story, and apparently I could have requested a mirror to see that. Like,
really?
Yeah, because she did. And like, I probably wouldn't have. I would have been too nervous, because I like the sight of blood or like all that kind of stuff like really grosses me out, and like in a really weak stomach. But I was like, I wonder if I could have seen her crowning, like if that would have motivated me, because I would have been able to see it even though I couldn't feel it.
It probably would. I would assume it would. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. So maybe next time, like I will. Yeah. Maybe around like set 8, set 9. That's when Dr. Higgy said that, hey, either I had already started to tear, and she was gonna have to she was like, well, you're already tearing. Like, I'm just gonna cut a little bit more. I was like, cut right away. Like, that's fine. And it was just like a little small, tear that she placed. And yeah, I think I pushed about maybe 2 more sets, and I cannot describe the feeling. I can't. But even though I couldn't feel anything with the epidural, like I couldn't feel my legs, couldn't feel anything going on, couldn't feel being cut open, I felt the baby come out. I felt that. It wasn't painful, obviously, because I was very numb, but I felt that. And then, that's when I finally just like laid back. Oh my God. I was so exhausted. Like when you talk about just the full body strength that is required to, you know, give birth, like, oh, pat myself on the back really quick because that's amazing. A lot, you know what I mean? So I was just like, all right, that's done. So I just like kind of laid back, and Shaylin was 5 pounds 10 ounces.
Yeah. 5'10".
Yeah, so she was a smaller baby, again, you know, born 3 weeks early. You cut the umbilical cord. One of my cousin pointed out that you looked nervous when you cut the umbilical cord. She was like, you look nervous, because you kind of like did that like deep breath. I think it was just like your version of processing everything that happened. And you cut the cord.
That's exactly what it was. I wanted to make sure that I cut it right.
Yeah.
That was my whole ordeal. I'm like, hey, as long as I cut this cord right, everything's going to be okay. Don't mess this up. Pay attention.
Yeah. Well, you did good. You did good. Yeah. And then, you know, oh man. So then after that, you know, they obviously cleaned the baby up a little bit, but they immediately put her on my chest. Now, y'all know, I said, like, that was so beautiful, like giving birth and everything. But I was like, if I was tired before, I am so tired now. I was looking for my nap. You know, in the movies when you give birth and then they like take the baby over there and weigh it and, you know, do that stuff. Like, I thought they were gonna do that. I had no idea I was about to have to immediately start breastfeeding. And I'm only saying this, like, I'm not trying to sound ungrateful. Like, that's not, I hope I'm not coming off that way. I'm just saying that I was exhausted. And the last thing that I thought that I was gonna be able to do at that moment was to learn how to breastfeed and like do the skin to skin for an hour. I asked Ashley, the nurse, I was like, I can have stuff now, right? Like, you know, because they won't let you drink or eat during labor. And she's like, yeah, you can have anything. I was like, can I have a Red Bull? And I cannot believe that I made such a rookie mistake and my camera died. But anyway, I'm back. We're gonna wrap it up anyway. That was pretty much the end of it. I was saying that, you know, after I gave birth, I was just like, I'm so tired. And since I can't go to sleep, can I please get a Red Bull? I ended up getting a Dr. Pepper and it was all good. We ended up staying in the labor and delivery room for about 3 hours because I think they were trying to find like a room upstairs. In that 3 hours, I was on we were all on cloud 9 the entire time. We were just, you know, enjoying the new baby. You know, she was so little, sweet and cute. It was amazing. Like, we were taking pictures, sending pictures to family. We just couldn't, like, my husband and I, we could not stop just like gushing over her. And like we said, her sisters, well, 2 of her sisters were there. The youngest one, it was just such a cute moment when she saw Shaylin. She just looked at her and just burst out into tears. I was having my own experience delivering. You know, Jonas was having his own experience being there to support me, but the girls were there and they were having their own experience too. And, you know, that was just pretty cool to see like their reactions once they saw their baby sister. Once we finally left the labor and delivery room, I was wheeled up to the postpartum maternity section. First thing I needed was some foods. My first meal was Chick-fil-A, spicy chicken sandwich, mac and cheese, a Dr. Pepper again, a brownie, oh, and some large fries. I ate all my food. So we all ate Chick-fil-A together. And once we were upstairs, it was just like pretty chill, you know, like wasn't too much going on. We had the TV there with us. We had our air mattresses in there because of course we were gonna have to be in there for at least another day. So we had 1 air mattress, 1 reclining chair, and then one of their sofas that kind of turned into a bed. It was tight, okay? It was cramped. Now, I did have some things that were like worrying me, you know, once, you know, the baby was here. She had jaundice, which is very normal now that I'm, you know, realizing things. But for me, it was my Roman Empire. I could not stop worrying about it. They ended up keeping her in the hospital for 72 hours. Doctor would not release her until her levels were good enough to be released. And that was 72 hours. I don't believe I slept until like the next day at like 4 in the morning. So the nurse was checking on me, you know, all throughout the night. She was noticing that I wasn't sleeping, asking me like if it was okay if she took the baby to the nursery, and I wasn't comfortable with that, you know, enough yet. So I was just like kind of just thugging it, like I don't care, I'm just gonna stay up. Like I really didn't mind. The next day, you know, I had the same nurse and she was like, girl, like you have to get some sleep. She extended so much grace to me and she was like, look, I know that you just want to, you know, look after your baby, but I can tell that you're tired, and you know, I really think that you should prioritize some sleep right now. After that chat that I had with her, I was like, okay, you know, my baby can go to the nursery, that's fine. She assured me that it would be fine, like literally press a button and if you want your baby back, I will come right back with your baby. So I kind of got used to that, and then I was like, all right, I need some sleep now, y'all can go like take the baby. And I had the best nursing team. I'm gonna miss this. Like, I'm literally spoiled. I'm gonna miss being spoiled. Now, it was a jaundice for the baby, but for me, it was just like recovering from that epidural, okay? Like, once the epidural started to wear off, my back was in so much pain, and I really did not think that the pain was ever gonna go away. Some people say that, you know, the pain from the epidural has stayed with them, and I was really thinking that that was gonna happen to me. But honestly, now, 3 months later, that pain lasted from the epidural probably for about a month. My back was just really stiff, and I was just in so much pain. After about a month, I really was okay. And then, of course, in the hospital, I was dealing with the bleeding from the tearing, you know, during childbirth. So it was just like pretty hard to walk. The enema was a good idea because I was most definitely constipated. I am just trying to recover myself, but now, you know, I have like a whole baby to look after, and that realization was just like mind-blowing. But like I said, I really couldn't have done it without the nursing staff. Like, they were just so amazing. I made sure that I got everyone's name, and I was like, I'm gonna write y'all just, you know, raving reviews because they really helped me out. As a first-time mom, I had no idea what I was doing, and they all stuck by me. So I really appreciated that. Thank you so much for tuning into our birth story video. I would love to have conversations in the comments about, you know, what you thought of our story and how it relates to yours. Be on the lookout for more from our channel. Again, we create lifestyle content for families with pets. We'll see you in the next video.